Hey, what's going on there, guys? Welcome to a tier list video. Haven't done one of these for the Kingdom Hearts series yet, but I figured it was kind of time I give you guys a reason as to, or give you guys the insight as to why I am considered the biggest Kingdom Hearts critic among all of my friends of multiple different Kingdom Hearts communities, or, as some people have said, I am the #1 Kingdom Hearts 2 hater. So, let's get into it. We're going to do a tier list. We're going to go through every single game in the Kingdom Hearts series, and we are going to talk about them, and we're going to put them on a tier list. So, I hope y'alls are ready for this one. I know you guys aren't because you guys are going to hate my opinions, but that's okay because they're my opinions, and I like them. Isn't that nice? All right. Starting off, we're going to go with the OG of the OG, Kingdom Hearts. This is going to be for the PS2. This is not the HD remix. This is PS2. And I honestly enjoy it. However, it has not aged well. The PS2 version of Kingdom Hearts 1 does not age well in the slightest. Having to use L2 and R2 for a camera, not having the triangle button to use for a lot of things just ain't the move. Um, so but I do have to give respect to it. It was my first Kingdom Hearts game. It was the one that I played the most, was KH1. And I'm not going to say it's a bad game. It just doesn't age well. Like, it's fun. I think it is at this point in 2026, it is a B tier game. If you were to ask me this question as to what it would be in 2005 or 2006, I would call it an S tier game. That was before the HD 1.5 remixes. Now, let's move on to GBA Chain of Memories. GBA Chain of Memories, I think it is a good version of the game. I personally don't do handheld games very well. So I'm putting it in the don't care. I think that's actually kind of unfair. I'm gonna move it up to B tier. I don't think it's as good as the OG Kingdom Hearts 1. I think it is the superior version of Chain of Memories. But I think that in terms of it's a GBA game. I don't have a ton of opinions on that one. Moving on to OG KH2. Now this is original KH2 for PlayStation 2. Okay. The original version, not final mix. Everybody is going to freak out about this. I'm calling it C tier. I would even go, actually, OG KH2 is going into D tier. Here's why. And this was the kind of the thing for pre-final mix for both KH1 and KH2. They really suffered from lack of content. There were 2 super bosses in KH1, unless you count Hades Cup, or no, there were more than 2 because it was Sephiroth. There was Sephiroth, Kurt Zisa, Ice Titan, and then there was Phantom in KH1. KH2, there was Sephiroth. I can't remember anything else. All the data orgs and absent silhouettes, Terra, were all final mix. So there's an extreme lack of content in KH2. The gummy missions in KH2 are terrible. I genuinely don't like them. I have a lot of problems with the story of KH2. I might make that its own video. I keep wanting to, but it's hard for me to do that knowing that I'm going to get actively harassed for that one. But I have a lot of problems with the story of KH2 and the fact that dodge roll is locked behind drive forms is the dumbest thing. And in KH2 Vanilla, you actually cannot even get access to dodge roll, because that's in limit form, which is a final mix exclusive. So, like, what are we doing, Square, on this? Okay, it just not great. It was not, in my opinion, it was not an upgrade. The only thing it really did well is it introduced limits and it introduced drive forms. Those certain things are the main areas for KH2 on PlayStation 2 that it does really, really well. All right, there's that. We're going to go ahead and we are going to move on to Birth by Sleep. It does not look like Birth by Sleep FM is on this list. But I honestly, I love Birth by Sleep. I think it is one of the most underrated KH games of all time. I don't necessarily think it's quite, I would put it in A tier, but I put it in lower A tier. I think it is the lowest A tier game, but I think Birth by Sleep is what really expands the lore. You get introduced to things like the Keyblade War. You get more Keyblade Masters than just Sora, Riku, and King Mickey. You get Xehanort. Master Xehanort is introduced in Birth by Sleep. You have obviously Apprentice Xehanort and Xemnas and Ansem Seeker of Darkness that are all introduced, but I mean Master Xehanort himself, like the true antagonist of the Darkseeker saga, is introduced in Birth by Sleep. Aqua, Terra, and Ventus, in my opinion, are more interesting characters than Sora, Riku, and Kairi. I think there's a lot more depth to them, especially Ventus, but I'll get into Ventus in a little bit when we get to Union Cross. So absolutely love Birth by Sleep. Next up is 358 Days Over 2. In terms of handheld games, I love it. I genuinely love Days. I think its gameplay is not great, but its story is so good that putting it below B tier feels wrong. I cried for, I'm sure, a lot of reasons, and I played the game. I had watched the cutscenes prior, but I went back in 2026 and I played the game on Melon Mix for the first time, and I genuinely loved it so much. I felt the gameplay drags, and there were a few missions that really drove me nuts, but I also did not think that the game nearly deserves as much of the gameplay hate as I've seen. For instance, Ruler of the Sky, not that bad of a boss fight. It's boring, but it's not a terrible boss fight. I don't like Leechgrave. Leechgrave was my least favorite boss in that entire game, but I did not have any real active problems with Ruler of the Sky. Next up, we're gonna go to Coded, Recoded specifically. Recoded, I'm putting in C tier. For Recoded, I actually, I have to put Recoded in D tier actually, because if I'm gonna put PS2 KH2 in D tier, I think I'm gonna do this. That's what I'm gonna do. Recoded was my least favorite KH game. I loved the gameplay. The command menu in Recoded was super fun. A lot of the mechanics in Recoded were genuinely super fun, but the story was completely and utterly a waste of my time. I wanted the story of Recoded to be more impactful, but it really did nothing for you. It doesn't do anything. And I genuinely, excuse me, I'm genuinely so sad at that, because Coded could have been a really cool way to find deeper connections to the BBS trio, and we didn't get that. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the HD remixes now. I want to get through the HD remixes before we finish up. So we have KH1 HD 1.5 remix. That's an S tier game. I think that it really improved so many things from KH1, the original, but still kept the same soul that KH1 had, as well as the additional content is absolutely phenomenal. It's really fun, genuinely a wonderful, wonderful game. And I go back to KH1 all the time, especially with randomizers. It's my favorite randomizer of the entire series. And I don't know if that will ever change. KH3 might, but I'll get into KH3 when I talk about it in a moment. Then we have Read Chain of Memories. Read Chain of Memories, in my opinion, is the superior version of Chain of Memories, but that is a purely personal preference thing. I don't think there's anything necessarily terrible with The other version, I don't think that I just enjoy playing Recom more. Every time I went to play Recom or Com, I had more fun. On the HD version, I've done quite a few randomizers on Recom as well, and I do really, really enjoy it as a randomizer. It's probably the most simple randomizer to get into for the KH randos, but I'll make a video on KH randos as well when I feel like it. All right, then it's HD 2.5 Remix. So this is Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. This one is also going to generate, I think, a ton of hate because, again, I am not a KH2 Glazer. I am putting KH2 FM in B tier. I think really the additional content and the use of limit form is the best thing about the game. And by additional content, I mean absent silhouettes, Terra, and limit form, and the data org. Having those extra super bosses makes KH2FM significantly more enjoyable. The combat rebalancing was kind of whatever, especially if you play on 60 FPS, you definitely feel that you are a lot more overpowered than you do in the base KH2 on PS2. But all of that to be said, I enjoy KH2. I've done a ton of randomizers of it. There are just a lot of things that I genuinely critique about the game. I don't like its level design. I think that the level design in KH2 is completely bland. It's all straight lines and hallways until you get to the world that never was. And the Cavern of Remembrance is the only thing that actually gives you platforming. And platforming is something that has made KH2 significantly more fun. It was like they decided when they got to KH2 that they were just going to say, forget platforming. We're just going to give you guys hallways, make it super simple level design, and you're going to focus on fighting. And I think the combat in KH2 is incredible. I love the combat in there. The level design just genuinely makes it a lot worse of an experience for me. Another thing with this as well, I think a lot of the bosses in KH2 are way too cheesable. Most bosses can be cheesed through either double negative combo, Peter Pan, quick running Roxas is a big cheese thing. And I know you don't have to cheese them, but if there's so many areas where the revenge value for bosses can be abused like that, that's a problem in your boss design. That's not a I consider that a flaw in the game. But that's the end of that one. I'm not gonna dive too much deeper into that because I already know I'm gonna get harassed for it. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts VCast. I'm putting that in. Don't care. It's whatever. I'm not gonna acknowledge its existence. Then we're gonna go on to Union Cross and Dark Road. I'm putting it in C tier purely because Union Cross and Dark Road has the best story content ever within the Kingdom Hearts series. That is hands down. That's the truth about it. Union Cross and Dark Road has the best story content and the worst gameplay because they were mobile games. Union Cross was a gotcha and it was terrible. But the story in Union Cross is incredible. I have an entire video talking about how you can remake Union Cross as an MMO. So I think that would be the way to go. Yeah. So that's the end of that. Up next, we're going to go into Kingdom Hearts 3D, so Dream Drop Distance. I think that is an A tier game. I think Dream Drop Distance is arguably the most important game in the Darkseeker saga because it does so many different things. It explains Sora's situation going into KH3. So if you are playing KH3 and you haven't played DDD, you definitely feel the lack of progression. It's a very stark difference going from 2 to 3 versus going into 2 into DDD into KH3. So and DDD also majorly fixes the biggest problem I have with Kingdom Hearts 2's story, which is the organization in KH2. All they wanted to do was to be exist. And nobody in KH2 thought, hey, let's try and do this in a way that doesn't abuse captive hearts. Instead, Sora just said, you guys don't exist? Sorry, that's a problem. You just got to go away. And I think that's terrible. I genuinely think that that is not who Sora is. He's known to be somebody who shows kindness first, and he refused to do that because Yensid told him so. And I hate that. I don't like that aspect of the story. But in DDD, you get the reveal that Xemnas was deceiving the entire organization, and that there's a deeper plot that Xemnas was actually working with Master Xehanort to try and help Master Xehanort achieve his goal through the use of that artificial Kingdom Hearts that was created. And that is such a cooler plot point than the original plot point in KH2. I think that if at the end of KH2, when they're all like right after Ansem the Wise has destroyed the artificial Kingdom Hearts, and they're like right up on the tower right before the first Xemnas fight where it's Sora versus Xemnas in that 1v1, I think that would have been a spot where you could have revealed it, because then Sora would have been a lot more interested in who this Master Xehanort is or what this other plot that was going on, and not just assume that everything was okay. Because Yen, Sid, and Mickey apparently knew that everything was not okay, which is why they summon Sora and Riku for their Mark of Mastery exam. Like, that's why they do that, because they learned through the events of Recoded that things are not good. But you could have given that reveal at the end of KH2 if you would have done the drop that Xemnas was deceiving the entire organization. Plus, then it also makes the organization significantly more relatable. And I think it makes it a lot more of a tragic villain story than just these guys are bad guys because my mentor told me that the bad guys are bad, so we have to stop the bad guys. But it makes it a lot deeper. So, yeah, there's that. Also, Dream Drop Distance introduced flow motion. Flow motion is the best form of movement that Kingdom Hearts has ever seen. It's so fun. Yeah. Moving on, we have 0.2. This is considered 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. I'm calling it 0.2. 0.2 Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage. I'm putting that one in B tier as well. The only reason that I'm putting it in B tier is because it's just not long enough. I want more 0.2. I think we need more 0.2, or at least something like that. And I think that that would be a really cool way that if like KH4, for example, were to have DLCs, we could have DLCs where we go through these 0.2 length style games. I think if 0.2 would have been a DLC rather than a tech demo, it might have been a little bit more intriguing. Like a pre-order DLC that you can get, and it will like tell you, hey, if you got this pre-order DLC, you want to play this before you play the main story. Or introducing the DLC at some point where you can kind of see like, hey, this is something to watch, like to play afterwards, because it really is just about Aqua, which is great. I love Aqua, but it's not something that you necessarily need story wise before playing KH3. Because if you play through the final episode of BBS, then you know that Aqua is trapped in the realm of darkness. But 0.2 just kind of adds a little bit of additional context to some of the events in KH1, and it's not something that really drives the story forward, but rather than lifts up the parts that we already have. Okay, up next, KH3. Again, people are going to cook me for this one. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the best game in the entire series, especially after Remind, because the Remind DLC is a super, super fun DLC. I've done a couple speedruns of it. I absolutely go crazy for the Remind DLC. It is so fun. One of my favorite things to do in the game. And Limit Cut, the data fights are great. They're not cheesable, and they're hard. Even on beginner, they're hard. You have to actually learn the fights. And I think that it does that so well. I also think that KH3's story ends the Darkseeker saga and transitions into the Lost Master saga really, really well. A lot of people blame its pacing. I think there are a few pacing issues, yes, but at the same time, I genuinely think that it perfectly wrapped up the story, especially when I did a randomizer recently and I thought about the death of Xehanort and everything, and just have continued to think about the story. It is just such a good wrap up that I'm very excited to see then how they continue on in KH4. And I could play KH3 all the time and not get bored. I think every time I play other games in like a randomizer setting, I've always been like, man, I can't wait for KH3's randomizer to be working specifically through Archipelago, but it will be. It will be. They're working on it. I played a seed yesterday that didn't crash, and it was great. And then up next, Melody of Memory. I have no strong feelings towards this game either way. It's a rhythm game. It provides some good information about what Kairi was up to in between 3 and 4. And that's really about it. I don't think there's really any major points to it. I'm a little upset that they made it and made it a part of the story because I still need to finish it. But it's not something where I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go through and play Melody of Memory. I want to play Melody of Memory. So yeah, that's really it. No strong feelings for it whatsoever. I've watched all the cutscenes that matter, so it's not even really a matter of just finishing it for the sake of the story. It's a matter of finishing it because I just need to finish it. It's the only Cage game I haven't finished yet. But yeah, so that's it. That's my tier list of all of the Kingdom Hearts games that are out, that aren't like the weird spin-off ones. And I guess VCast is added in here for some reason. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I understand a lot of people are not going to agree with my opinions, and that's okay. I think that's one of the beautiful things about making tier lists and having opinions is people can differ and we can have good conversations about it. Because I am genuinely curious to know some of your guys' thoughts. That's more than just the dumb arguments. Most of the comments I probably won't even respond to because of how a lot of the comments usually go when it comes to anything Kingdom Hearts related. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. You are loved. You are valued. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. We'll see you right back here in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.